a session presented by IAG Loyalty. Please welcome the Chief Commercial Officer at IAG Loyalty, Robert McDonald, in discussion with Skift President, Carolyn Kremins.
Hello again. Are you all full from a nice lunch, I hope? Rob, welcome. We haven't really talked much about loyalty today, so I think this is a good opportunity to do so. Loyalty programs are such a big part of travel brands, and especially in hospitality. They have the best known loyalty programs probably out of all sectors. In 2022, Skift did a research report, and we found that more than half of room bookings were done by members of that particular loyalty program. You are the Chief Commercial Officer of IAG Loyalty. You know a thing or two about this subject, right?
I hope so.
I hope so. And IAG Loyalty designs and powers the program for the obvious programs, which is Iberia, British Airways, Vueling, Aer Lingus, and now Qatar, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you sit across, those are a huge number of people, so you sit across a lot of data. Tell us, what do consumers want from loyalty programs?
Sure. So they want a lot, which is understandable. And I think what we've always known, and it would be very obvious to people in the room, that they've always looked for loyalty programs to make them feel special, reward, recognition, simplicity, ease of use. Those are kind of the standard facets I think wouldn't surprise anyone. But over the last year, we've seen across a whole series of pieces of data and in the report that we've done that there's kind of an emergence that I think customers are looking for, both value and choice. So they absolutely want both. They also want value a lot faster. So they want to, really see how they can use the programs. And I think that's quite a change, and there's been a maturity in the market as well. So we've seen particularly, we know that a number of customers, many customers have had challenging times, continue to have challenging times, but at that same time they've become very, very savvy, ever smarter in understanding what they can get from loyalty programs and understanding that, they can use them to make sure they don't have to necessarily give up on choices in life. They understand that by changing habits quite in a small way, so a different shop or a different payment methodology, they can very quickly take value from loyalty programs, and then in their everyday choices are not having to substitute or give up on things that they wanted to do. We've heard a lot about that today in terms of, resurgence of travel, and demand is very high. Right. And we're seeing customers very intelligently use programs to make sure they can continue to do that.
Yeah. So I just want to pick up because you have a new report that came out. It's I think it's over 1,000 people were surveyed here from the UK, but in the report, it's a great report. The QR code, it's right here. But in it, there was one part of it that talked about this, that there's a new golden age of loyalty. How should, we have a lot of travel brands in the room, how should brands be thinking about loyalty differently now?
I've been in the industry a long time. I've never seen anything like it, which is why we went for golden age, because it's sometimes overused, but I've never seen anything like it. So we have had for 12, 18 months just an enormous number of conversations with brands. We're seeing the conversation about loyalty coming up to the C-suite table as we think it should be, because many brands and many businesses have got to kind of a parity position where they're delivering great customer experiences, great digital experiences. They're potentially matched on price. And it's very easy, well, not easy, but people do get to this parity position, and then they're looking for that final differentiator. So we've seen many people come to us, many people talking in the industry about, well, what should I do in loyalty? Because they're realizing that it is kind of the last differentiator after some of those experiential and selling journeys where you can make a substantial difference. So we've seen people, be it coffee, be it the high street, be it trainers. I mean, seeing someone like McDonald come out and make a big play in that space shows you that there is now a very mature understanding that programs and loyalty, when done well, can make a substantial difference to your bottom line. We're engaging with many of our travel brands and partners, many of whom are in the room, to understand how do we use the bond ever more, because it is very effective. And depending on what you're doing, it can also be economically better. If you're having to refit infrastructure, real estate, aeroplanes, with ever better products, that's obviously very capital intensive. And there are many ways that you can double down on your loyalty effort that won't necessarily be at the same cost level, but from an emotional connection with customers and responding to their needs, it is ever more powerful in our view. And so we're just seeing conversations happening that are really, really, really interesting, and it's taking it up to a new level.
Right, so it sounds like you're kind of like pushing out the boundaries on what a loyalty program is all about, right? Can you give us some examples of the kinds of things that you're doing?
I think we are. In our business, we believe that we've really made a step change over the last 3 or 4 years. We've become maniacal about how do you get value faster into customers' hands, and we've done that through doubling down on collection opportunities, how to collect points faster. We talked about people want value faster. So we've been focusing on, revolutionizing that in many of our home markets. So we've done, enormous deals with things like Barclays Avios credit card. We're working with BP, we're working with Nectar. We're working with many, many more brands that we've never worked with. We've added thousands of brands in our home shopping portal over the last couple of years when people are at home. And we've just seen an acceleration that we hadn't seen in, we've been doing this for decades, but the last 3 years have been a change. So we've really pushed to get points into customers' wallets faster, get them to rewards faster, and then the virtuous circle works even better.
Yeah, so, well, first of all, I'm sure you've seen so much change over the last 3 years on how and what people want. But, so that's a collection piece. What about the redemption part of that?
Yeah, so on redemption, we've really been trying to focus on ease as well as breadth, and understanding that first piece that I talked about, that for customers, value and choice are all very, very different. But I think for loyalty to work well, you have to have breadth of choice. Our preferences and choices on what we consider good value or a good value reward are very different. For some people, it's a holiday. For others, it's a in-the-moment fast reward, and that will always differ. So we've been focusing then on making that ease of use better. We've been investing, particularly for people in this room, we've been investing in reward booking platforms. So offering choices beyond flying, so hotels, cars, experiences. We've branched out into groceries, so we allow customers to use and convert into Nectar. They can use brands like eBay and Argos if they want different treats to travel. So we want the broad spectrum, and that's where we've really invested and made sure that we have a depth of choice as well as different values, because there is no one thing for one customer.
By doing that, do you see flight redemptions being pushed down a bit?
Absolutely not. I mean, that is at the heart of our currency. It's what people want and they desire. We just think that to keep moving forward, we have to offer choice, and we're really happy to offer choice and make sure. For us, it's really about getting customers to their first reward faster. And if for some people that's different things outside of travel, we're very, very comfortable with that. Right. In flights, there's lots of other things that we're doing as well.
Right, right. So in the report, there was also this other stat that that I loved. That everyone, at the end of the day, they prioritize taking a holiday. It didn't matter that there's, a economic, crisis out there. Like, people still want that holiday. So how does that, when you see a stat like that, how does that shift in terms of how you think about the consumer and what you're serving up to them?
Yeah, so I'm conscious I'm sort of echoing many people in the room that demand and the health of the business is extremely positive, and the report heavily came out with insights with 92% of customers saying that they want to continue and they will prioritize the holiday. What we've done is we've tried to respond as quickly as we can, and we've made a huge series of improvements across our flight rewards over the last 24 months. We kind of started 24 months ago by doubling the guaranteed number of reward seats. We needed to respond and keep moving forward to follow the collection. We've introduced, probably most relevant for current customer times, we introduced £1 fares on short haul with fixed amounts of points. Those have been insanely popular, and then we doubled down and followed that in December just gone with £100 flat fares across the whole world and the whole of the networks of our carriers. So we've done that. We've made it easier to use rewards. We've doubled down with people like American Express. We've introduced things like solo traveler usage, which has been extremely popular. We've also added in all of our airlines in the network, so rather than just using a British Airways credit card voucher on British Airways, using it on Iberia and Aer Lingus. So we've really made a series of changes to just make it easier to get the reward faster, to come back to this loyalty flywheel that we know very well, and we see evidence the whole time of the flywheel moving, more ways to collect, more ways to spend, and then customer behaviors that we'd all like to see.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but are you able to now use points on BA holidays, like beyond the flight? You can take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was 4 weeks ago, actually. So we're really excited. This was, being very honest, a gap in our portfolio, and again is a gap that we filled that's very interesting to people in this room. Previously, if you wanted a British Airways holiday, you couldn't use your Avios, and 4 weeks ago we introduced that. And the uptake, obviously, with the resurgence of demand has been very pleasing, but we've seen customers saving on some holidays with families, £3,000, £4,000, £5,000. Yeah. We've seen some customers spending $1 million Avios for a summer break. Quite large families, quite exciting destinations. And we've also seen, back to the choice piece, we've seen other customers discounting £50, £100, £200, £400. What we're also seeing is them then using those savings to potentially go into a different level of accommodation, or add cars, add extra stay. So we're really seeing that all the pieces I talked about at the top around value, choice, and using rewards faster is really coming through. So 4 weeks in, we are thrilled.
Oh, that's great. That's great. We're almost out of time, but Finbar from Google just said on stage that close to 40% of loyalty members are up for grabs. Is that a good thing for you or not a good thing for you?
I am always amazed at how many new members come into the programs. We obviously measure penetration and all of that, but you just constantly, every day, see tens of thousands of people waked up to this, back to the savvy shopper, that I'm missing out on value. I could make some simple choices that make my value go further. So I'm not surprised. There's way more opportunity, I think, for all of us in the industry to keep going. We need to respond to customer needs as quickly as we can in the environments we work in, to make sure we're delivering what people want, because it is a virtuous cycle or circle, whichever way you want to look at it, and we're certainly seeing all of those things coming through. Well,
it sounds like you're on top of it, so hopefully it's in your favor. Again, the loyalty report, you can download it and get some of the latest stats and trends, and thank you so much for joining us, Rob.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Appreciate it.